Welcome to the Ride of My Life podcast. I'm Caroline Rena, and here, let the ride inside adventure begin. I will share what it's like on my own healing journey, and through what I learn and become aware of, provide insight to your journey as well. Hey everyone, I'm Caroline Rena, and welcome to the Ride of My Life podcast. And today I have Tammy Romer, and I'm not sure what's going to come out of this one, but it's going to be pretty fun. So that's all I got to say. So I'm going to introduce Tammy, and then we'll start right in. So Tammy has spent years writing for others as a marketing strategist while traveling her own self-love journey. Before writing Love and Kale, a painful and unstable childhood set her upon a global quest to find validation and love. Little did she know, as she struggled through 2 divorces, a lifetime of career ups and downs, a burnt out adrenal system, and the ultimate diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, the answers she sought came. The truest of all loves she found was within her all along. I love that. I love that. And when she made this discovery, she committed herself to helping all women find, nurture, and hold on to their own self-love. I love this. Hey, Tammy, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Good, good. So, like I said, we're just going to have some fun with this, and we'll just see where it goes. So I'm really excited about this book. Can you kind of give us an idea of what you're doing right now with the book?
Sure. So every December, at the end of every December, every year, I kind of take some time to reflect and look at where I am, where I want to go, what's going on. And this past December, I was really in a stuck place. I don't know, I describe it as I had no flow. And I pulled out some old journals and some old classwork that I had done on some different education programs and stuff like that. And I noticed that there was this ongoing theme that I was writing about. And while I didn't know to term it self-love yet, what I did know was what I was seeing around me and what I was being exposed to through broadcast television and advertising and marketing was this notion that love and happiness were outward things. They were things outside of us. Mm-hmm. And through the acquisition of either a very handsome husband or a really, really sexy mid-century modern home in Palm Springs, and the Lexus SUV wrapped in a red bow in the driveway with the fake snow, that we would suddenly have all this happiness, all this love, all this fulfillment and contentment. And having been in marketing and advertising for 30 plus years, and I call myself a chief manipulator, I knew intellectually about aspirational marketing and advertising because I had written it or produced it all of my life. So that seeing these messages was nothing new. You know, the Hallmark Channel between Thanksgiving and Christmas is all about finding your Christmas prince. And what I kept bumping up against as a woman was this notion that we had to go outside of ourselves in order to get this love or this validation. Mm-hmm. And I got pissed off, as you do. And I wrote a rant on Facebook, you know, why does marketing keep saying the same story over and over again? You're not whole and complete if you don't have all of these things.
Can I ask you a quick question before you continue? Because this is just bringing something, already it's bringing something up for me. Okay. So for years, I have been like enamored with I don't know what word to use, consumerism and how it works in advertising and how they actually hire psychologists to understand the human mind and how they can manipulate the mind to get, that's true, right?
Yeah, so they're called account planners. And basically account planners in large advertising agencies have degrees in psychology or sociology, and they use those degrees to inform the messaging.
Right.
So
So it
whether
makes
it's an
us think that
aspiration,
we need all those outside things.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
And most of it, I would say 80% of all marketing that you and I see, all the advertising you and I see, is geared towards women, because women make 85% of the purchases in the household.
Mhm.
And it's the way it's geared towards us is that we're lesser than. And by purchasing these things and obtaining this huge engagement ring, etc., then our lives will be complete. Then and only then. But as we've all experienced, first we want the Mercedes, then we want the this, then we want the that, then we want the that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So back to my story. So I did this rant on Facebook, as you do, and then I started doing some more meditation and doing some more inwardly focused things on myself. I don't have multiple selves. I just have one
We
right
all
now.
do. It's okay.
We're
all your children.
Are they around me right now? I wanted to get some clarity for myself, and I also wanted to get rid of this unblocked flow that I had. I just felt like I was stuck. Now, I'm not the only person that felt that way. For 2 years, we've been in a major pandemic lockdown. Mm-hmm. And even though here in Florida, where I live, and in other states, we can move free about the country. We don't need Southwest to tell us to do that. Still, there's this overriding, cautionary, protective, I've been working from home for 2.5, almost 3 years now. Mm-hmm. There's still I've seen the four walls of my house now for almost 3 years now. I'm over it. I want to go live in a tent or something,
Yeah.
And I think that was part and parcel of the stuckness I felt.
Yeah.
This lack of flow. So I got these journals out. I re-looked at some of my notes that I was writing, and I had one of those aha, divine lightning bolts hit me over the top of the head kind of thing. And I realized that the rant couldn't just be a rant. It had to be a book. And then that's the birth of Love and Kale.
I love that name. Thank you.
Do you know why I named it that?
Well, I want to know in a minute, but why didn't you pick something like spinach or?
Oh God, I love kale. I love kale in all its iterations.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead. Why did you?
I was in Sprouts today, and I said to myself, should I buy some pre-made kale? And I'm like, no, just make it yourself.
I actually have a nice organic bunch in my refrigerator right now.
It tastes, for some people, it's an acquired taste, because it has that bitter. I probably wouldn't have liked kale. Well, oh my God, kale's been on our plates since probably the 1940s as a garnish over here. And nobody would have even thought to eat that, Yeah. Now we eat curly kale as if it were iceberg lettuce,
Yep. So why did you name the book Loving Kale?
Oh, now you're going to ask me.
I am.
So as I was doing this mental rumination and going through the process of realizing that that this rant needed to be a book, what I came to realize was that with our ability to love ourselves and practice self-love, nurture our self-love, mm-hmm. hold on to our self-love, we are then capable of loving others, being love to other people, whether they're spouses, kids, co-workers, whatever, just like our whole being shifts. Mm-hmm. When that shift happens in the universe, also what happens is we open up other avenues or channels for the universe, source, spirit, God, Mother, Father, Buddha, whatever you call it, to shower you with those things that you're looking for: success, happiness, joy, weight loss, healthy body, good marriage, great friends. And I think the root of all good is love.
Mm-hmm.
So what occurred to me was, if women can love themselves and eat right, meaning eat their vegetables, eat a balanced meal. I'm not saying be a vegetarian. I'm just saying eat right. Balanced is a better word than right. That implies wrong. Then it's really simple. Everything takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
It may sound Pollyanna to some people, but I wanted to distill it down to its mere essence, instead of it making it all so complicated. Well, if I love myself, and then I tell my husband I love him, and I love my kids, and then if I make a steak for dinner and we have kale, and just don't make it so complicated, people. And that's where the name Love and Kale came from.
That's really
the title of the book.
Hey, that's neat. And I personally, and I'm going to share this because everyone needs to understand what self-love is and find it. Women, there's something different. Because I'm a woman, I'm going to speak for myself as a woman, but it's a very, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just something that needs to be found again. And not everyone really even understands what self-love is. Even the people who have self-love, you and I have talked about that before, but they don't even really understand what it is. They just have this feeling that they know. And whether you know it or you don't know it, it's something that, like you say, it's an energy that helps you to express yourself in life. And there's a stuckness that happens, like you were saying about yourself, that doesn't happen when we have that. And over the past week, literally over the past week, I have been walking through finding that truth, finding that self-love. And I mean, I've been personally going through a whole bunch of different little processes to find it. So it's not necessarily something, and you can share what your thoughts are, obviously, about this, but it's not necessarily something that you can say, oh yeah, well, you need self-love, bam, there it is. It doesn't happen that way. There's a journey you need to take if you don't know what it is, if you don't have it, if you at least want to experience it, and you don't, or you have it and you don't know what it is. There's still a journey you need to take, because you need to know why you feel that way. I think, but, and that.
Yeah, well, yeah, no. And to that point, the book Love and Kale is not a self-help book. It's not a how-to book.
That's what
there are, and as I'm researching, getting source material for the book, there's two things I'm doing, obviously doing my due diligence and my research, and then I'm interviewing women from all walks of life to understand their journeys. But what I found in doing my general research is that there's probably a couple hundred books out there on self-love, actually with the title Self-Love in the title, on Amazon, in Barnes and Noble, various different places. Hay House has some, some of the major publishers carry them. And they are all written by learned psychologists, licensed clinical social workers, people with years and years experience of working with people on emotional levels to untangle that stuff we have up there. And what I found in reading those books was that many of those books kind of struck me like, weight loss books, which we know there's millions and millions of weight loss books out there, and none of us weighs 115 pounds, So there are a few people. But what I found in those books on self-love was they were strictly how-to guides. There's some really great journals out there, and I actually have a journal on my website which I recommend, and there's another journal which I'm currently doing the journal work right now, and it's like an activities book to make sure that it fits with my thinking as well too. But what I found in the book, these books by these licensed clinical social workers and psychologists and psychiatrists, is that it was very much like a self-help book. Get up, look yourself in the mirror, say, gosh darn it, I love you. Hug yourself 3 times a day. Once a day, do something nice for yourself. Like, I don't know, get a pedicure or something like that. Again, I'm coming back to, these are all outward things. Inward things are things like meditation, quiet time, just resting in silence with yourself. And those books would maybe reference, Tammy, age 45, married to David for 10 years. I know, I was married to David for like 10 years, 3 kids, 2 dogs, a mortgage. She can't find her self-love, but it never, like, it would say she feels, she told me she doesn't feel happy and she doesn't know what's wrong with her marriage and stuff like that, but it was never in her words. It was never first person. And so in coming up with this idea about self-love, about loving Kale, what I wanted to make sure that we did was we told the stories anonymously of women of all ages and all backgrounds and all religions and all races and all countries as well too. The women I'm interviewing are all around the world. They're not just here in sunny Florida. Because as you said before I started talking, is that it's really a journey to discover one's self-love. And like any journey in life, when it's your time to discover something, that's when you discover it. You can't discover it because somebody goes like this and says, you will have self-love. Mm-hmm. You have to have the courage of heart, the mental fortitude, the space as well too. Many women don't have space. Some of the women I'm talking to literally shut themselves in the bathroom in the shower at night to cry because their lives are so overscheduled with dance lessons, piano lessons, soccer, making dinner, picking up the dry cleaning, working a full-time job, getting the groceries. I'm not saying their husbands don't help, but let's just be really honest here. Mothers are the chief caregivers. That's the way it was. That's the way it is today. That hasn't altered in our lifetime. So it's a sad story when the only peace that a mother can get is through tears in the shower. So what I hope this book does is give women hope, whether you discover your self-love in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s or your 50s or your 60s, or you found it and lost it and you need to get it back, give women hope, but to see other women's stories and maybe see themselves in it, know that they're not on this journey alone, and know that they're okay. They're exactly where they're supposed to be, doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, experiencing exactly what they're supposed to be experiencing in their life at that day.
Yeah, that's really powerful because, I mean, a lot of us have been, and I talk about trauma a lot because of my own experience and people I've connected with, but when we've been traumatized, that's pieces of the work that needs to get done. Like, and I mentioned the grief work, in order to get to self-love, you can go by the how-tos all you want to, but you're not going to find it without releasing that energy that is literally stuck inside of your body. If you're holding anger, whether it's to yourself or to somebody else, you cannot love yourself. You can't. It's impossible. It's or challenging or, whatever. So I think it's really important for a book like this to come out to show women and men, that there's an opportunity to see what it's like and to find that. And you've done this, you're doing this, you're on your journey. And I read a few things about, pieces of your story on how you got to this point to wanting to do this. Can you go a little bit deeper into what the story, your backstory is, as to, the,
Sure.
the
So
vulnerable pieces, if you can. Yeah.
like many people in this world, I'm a product of divorced family. Mm-hmm. And raised by a single mother who was emotionally and mentally challenged. Mm-hmm. And, that takes its toll on the children. If I can just back up for a second, because sure. I want to say one thing, that in my discussions with women, I am finding that self-love was present for many, many women when they were younger, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And as I'm talking to you now about my childhood, I can very clearly say, I can tell you on this day and this day and this day, this is what I experienced. My self-love experience was a sense of joy, a sense of contentment, a sense of happiness. And I was 7 years old. Mm-hmm. And then life happens. Yeah. And when I say life happens, I'm going to say that our parents doing the best that they can with what they have and the outside influences that they believe in, church, state, whatever it may be, begin to conditionalize us to prepare us for the world ahead. Excuse me. And how that may look is, and I've heard this from several women, you need to be smart, you need to be pretty, you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room. And if you are the smartest person in the room, don't let anybody know it.
Yeah.
So I think that starts around, that started around 6 or 7 for many women of the baby boomer, post-baby boomer, perhaps even into the Gen X a little bit as well too. And then you get into middle school, not so much in grade school, but in middle school, and all hell breaks loose. Mm. And then now you've got all the outside influences of cliques. Everybody wants to dress like the popular girl. Everyone wants to be like the popular girl. And if you're not like the popular girl, if you're not the smartest person in the class, if you're not the prettiest person in the class, then where you go is within in a very detrimental way. And you start to practice self-deprecation. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I do, because you just brought up a memory for me, which I think may have started, and it wasn't even a memory. It was actually a friend of mine's memory who remembered watching this happen. But this was in middle school, and it's interesting. It kind of fits in. I had a male gym teacher, and he was teaching everybody how to do cartwheels. And he didn't know, and of course I didn't tell him that I already knew how to do a cartwheel. So I've got knowledge as a 11-year-old, 10-year-old, something like that. I've already got knowledge on how to do this. And he pulled me up to the front of the line so he could teach everybody step by step how to do a cartwheel. Well, my friend told me that I actually started to do the cartwheel, and I couldn't hold it. I had to go follow through, and I kicked him in the face. And he got mad at me and yelled at me and screamed and get to the back of the line, because obviously I shocked him or whatever, but that doesn't matter. But when he did that, I felt that my knowledge, this is powerful, because this is something I haven't thought about it this way. It pushed me back to the back of the line. I had to be behind everybody else because I knew something that other people didn't know. Yeah. Wow. Holy crap. Because, and this is in the moment. I didn't even realize that, so thank you.
There you go. There you go. We'll release it. Let it go. Yeah. So, we get into that age, and then we really, as women, become our own judge and jury at that point, and seem to spiral down as hormones start to fly around as well too, and just become our worst, really become our worst enemies instead of our best friends. And I'm not saying our parents are at fault here, but parents tell boys back then and even today, you can do, have, or be anything you want to be, and don't let anybody tell you anything different. The segue from that is the whole entitlement thing that we're going through with the snowflakes right now, where boys and girls, boys and girls are being told you can have, be, or do anything that you want, regardless of what anybody says to you. But what's missing from there is don't step on people to get what you want.
Right.
And you don't deserve it just because you show up. You know, you have to do the work. And that's the part that's missing. And I'm going to put air quotes on here, modern day parenting. We want our children to have all this self-esteem, which is another topic of conversation that we could spend another hour on, about the church and self-esteem and self-actualization, and why we are where we are today, is mainly because of church doctrine and the idea of holding the masses down to increase the flock and the coffers. Because if they truly believe that they're equal to God, then why would they show up here? So that's another program in itself. But okay, so then you get into junior high school, and since you don't have this self-love has slowly been getting knocked out of you, it's so displaced at this point that you can't, you couldn't have self-love even if you tried to have self-love. And mommy and daddy showering with you, we love you so, you are so appreciated, you know, that's not the same as self-love. That's, again, outward. So back to my story, a single mother doing the best that she can with a mental illness with 4 kids is not the best recipe for self-love. It just isn't. And by the time I got into my late teens, early 20s, first of all, I was definitely hell-bent on repeating a lot of the mistakes that she had made as an adult woman. But there was no self-love. There was no self-actualization. There was no self-awareness. There was just this terrible outward focus for love, validation, praise, acceptance, just you just fill in the blanks. And that's what I meant by, in my bio about how that's that journey. And everybody likes to be pat on the back and say, job well done, but that can't be your only sense of value or your only sense of worth. Because there's going to be times when people don't pat you on the back and say, Tammy, you really screwed that one up. So what do you do when that happens? You shouldn't say to yourself, oh, I'm a failure, or I'm useless, I'm worthless, I should quit my job and go work in fast food, which is nothing bad about working in fast food. But we go down the rabbit hole with that one. Now, if we possessed a sense of self-love and self-compassion and a real high self-worth, and I don't want to use the word self-esteem because that's just got perverted in the past 20 years. I got to find a new saying besides self-esteem. When something like that would happen and somebody said, Tammy, you really screwed that one up, I would be able to own it and say, you're absolutely right, I did. It will not happen again. And then privately, I would have the power, the wherewithal, the tools to say to myself, you know what? I screwed that up. It is never going to happen again. But it doesn't mean I'm not the best fill in the blank.
Or that I'm not worthy. I mean, that's a big
deal. Or that I'm not worthy, or that people don't like me, or that I'll never be promoted. I mean, oh my God, the machinations we do with our brain is just, It's not self-talk, it's self-badgering or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And I recently read somewhere something, and I'm going to make sure that it does get into the book about whole self-compassion, that in my 20s, if I would have talked to myself as if I was talking to a 4-year-old and said, you know what, Tammy, that's okay. You know what? You made that mistake, but that doesn't mean that you're not a good person. You still have wonderful qualities. If we talk to ourselves like we talk to a 4-year-old that spills milk on the floor or breaks a crayon or wets their pants or something like that, wow, just wow, what would be available to an adult if they interacted with themselves like they were a wonderful child?
I have something. Can I throw something in here? It's another example. It's just
this is your podcast.
But I don't want to stop you if you had something you wanted to add to that.
I rehashed my uninteresting life enough.
So I have done my personal development over many years. It's like 30 plus years, something like that. And about 5 years ago that's how I ended up in Florida initially. I went to a personal development course, and after I did this particular thing, I found that a lot of people use it, so it's really beautiful. But they did this thing where they put all of the students in a seated circle, and they had like they were the assistants that were standing behind them, and there were these songs that came on, and they were all kind of going back to childhood songs, or real sweet, loving, blah 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 types of songs. Anyway, so the person behind them would put their hands on the shoulder of the person sitting, and they would whisper in their ear everything that they wanted to hear when they were a child. So they would be getting things like, I love you, you're beautiful, you're amazing, I'm so proud of you, you mean the world to me, these types of things. And I remember when I did it and I was sitting there, this is the beginning of the deep work that I did when I went down there. What happened was I started tingling and feeling weird, and then not feeling weird. It was interesting because it was just hearing those things, because I had never heard any of those things. And it's not just one person. They go around in a circle, and the next person does it. Next person. And I heard all of this stuff, and it opened something inside of me that was like, that's what I've been wanting to hear for so long. And a lot of us don't hear that, and it's and that opens up, whoa, but it's not, it's them telling you what they wanted to hear, but they're telling it to you, and and with the music behind it, it sounded like these whispers of angels or whispers of your parents when they could have done that and they didn't. And it was just so powerful. And I just wanted to share that in relation to what you had just said, because some of us just don't hear that stuff, and we don't know that about ourselves. And so yeah.
Well, especially if you never heard it as a child, one of the main themes that I heard as a child was, why do you have to be so different? And I mean, plain truth of it is that I am different. I was nothing.
We're all different. Yeah.
I was nothing like my brothers and sister. I understand from my mother's perspective that having a child that was different was difficult, because when you're a single parent of 4 kids, it's like herding cats. And I get that.
Yeah.
But again, she didn't know that saying something like that was going to be soul crushing. But it was soul crushing. It absolutely was soul crushing. And, probably from that point on, I wanted to fit in. I mean, I was a cheerleader in high school. I was a gymnast. I was a straight A student because I wanted to fit in. And I was in the drama club. I wanted to excel, but, to a certain point, I didn't want to be,
I didn't want to stand out. I wanted to excel, but I didn't want to be like, oh.
Correct. Yeah. I wanted to be noticed, but not noticed, if that
Yeah.
made any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, no, it does. It
But,
really does.
yeah, it's just, I'm a parent myself, and, I've had to do a lot of forgiveness work on myself to forgive myself for the stupid shit I did with my son. I didn't know any better, was doing the best I could. There was no malintent there. But, I was just going to say, there's no books on parenting. Oh, God, help me. There's hundreds of books on parenting.
Yeah, well.
And my favorite one is, now, Johnny, don't do that, okay? Why are we negotiating with a 5-year-old? Which is a whole other topic altogether. But anyhow.
So far, we've got 4 more interviews we can do, but go ahead.
Oh my God. But yeah, so back to self-love, just having that self-compassion, that keeping at bay the self-criticism, which is so easy to do, can really help a woman unlock or discover or realize her self-love.
Yeah, that's definitely.
The rest of my life is boring,
I
lived in New York City.
I doubt
what?
I doubt it, but.
Oh, you know what? I say that to people. It's like, it's boring to me. Lived in New York City, ran 2 international ad agencies, one in Sydney, Australia, one in New York City.
Oh, that's boring. Okay, but here's the thing. That's the self-value and the self-worth that we don't have. So why don't we turn it around, flip it around, and say, guess what? You lived in New York City and you ran an ad agency and you ran one that was where in Australia? What did you say?
Yeah, I lived in Sydney, Australia.
Come on, that's huge. Yeah,
I know, but here's the point. Here's the point. I don't want to be seen as navel gazing, as tooting my own horn.
I know, and here the other piece of it is that's what made you who you are today too. So I love that. I think it's so cool. Anyway. So now I know, because you interviewed me, that you have a certain list of questions that you ask.
Well, they're thought starters.
Thought starters. That's what we'll call them. Okay, thought starters. And I was thinking, because I think it would be kind of cool for people to understand kind of how you're compiling this and putting it together. I think it would be kind of cool if you maybe ask me a couple of those questions, like as a process.
You might give my secrets away.
Oh, just 2 simple questions. They don't even have to be secretive questions. They can.
I will give one of the most profound secrets away that I've learned so far in this process.
Yes, I got a profound secret.
So for any of those people that are watching that would love to participate, I think Caroline is going to give you at the end of this podcast a way that you could participate in the book. But so what I've compiled is a 2-page information background on the book, like where it came from, its germination, and why the name Love and Kale. And basically what I'm asking for is basically to interview women for 30 minutes to capture their stream of consciousness. No right or wrong answers, no judgment. I love that line from Jumanji with Jack Black when he's in character for the female, and he says, "Judgy much?" I think I'm going to make that my new mantra. But
self-judgy much?
Yeah, judgy much?
Judgy much. Self-judging.
Yeah, and then the way he says it is just like, I think he's playing her as some kind of valley girl or something like that. But the second page is a purposefully designed series of thought starter questions, and some of them may be very easy for women to ask, and some of them may not be. I will say that 90% of the women I have interviewed so far have said to me that they had never thought about self-love before, but now they think about it all the time.
Mm.
And they check in with themselves to see if they're being self-loving, or, and I'll say this in a little bit because I don't want to get it wrong, or not. So here's the profound thing. So they get these two pieces of paper before the interview. We get on the interview. I ask them who they are, blah, 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 blah. And everybody's going to be anonymous in the book, by the way. And then I ask them,
Yay!
what was your first impression when you read the questions? And what I'm finding is that gets me the most profound answers out of all the questions, because it's stuff like, I had never thought about self-love before. I don't know what self-love is. You know, I'm personally not leading these interviews to tell you what self-love is. And the stream of consciousness that comes just from that question alone, I could throw all the rest of the questions out. But eventually we do end up going into some of the other questions. When I hit upon that question, which I'm not even sure if I asked you that question or not in your interview.
No.
And if you're feeling left out, I can ask you that one.
I don't know. When you said it, I was like, I don't know. Okay. Whatever you ask me, here's the thing. When I do these processes, whatever I get asked, it's live TV from that for about 5 or 10 minutes. It's live TV. And then after it's over, I just kind of give or share what my experience was. And,
sure.
then we end, and then I go throw up. So whatever happens is perfectly okay.
The throwing up bit. That's how you're so thin. So what I found was, you know, comments like, wow, these are really deep questions. You know, I'm not asking anybody to expose themselves, and, you know, but sure enough, you know, these women get started, and some of the most incredible, unselfish, generous, mind-blowing things are being shared with me about who they are as women, their journey to where they are today. And some of them are in their 20s, and some of them are in their 30s, and some of them are in their 40s, and some of them are in their 50s, some of them are in their 60s, some are married, some are divorced, some have never been married. Some have been divorced for so long they don't even consider themselves as being married, kind of thing. And then after we get over that one, which usually takes like 15 minutes, then I can ask a couple of other follow-up questions, you know, about the experience of self-love and nurturing self-love. And I think another profound one for me is, you know, if they have a daughter or nieces or a sister, you know, how would they either help her discover her self-love or encourage her to discover her self-love? And some pretty incredible things are coming out of that as well too.
Okay, well, let's do 2 questions.
Do you have the questions in front of you?
No, I don't. I was looking for them for a few minutes ago and I can't find them. So no.
Gosh.
You pick them. Okay. I don't want to pick them. that's
no.
the excitement here.
So when I'm going to assume that you've already said to me, oh, I discovered my self-love in 1977. I was at a Grateful Dead concert and blah, 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 blah. But,
yeah,
okay, so
I was, how old was I in 1977? 64.
You probably weren't born yet, you know.
No, I was 13.
Okay, so you've already told me that you discovered self-love. Okay. So what have you discovered about yourself when you're in a state of self-love?
What have I discovered about myself when I'm in a state of self-love?
So your self-love is present to you. So let's say self-love shows up to you as a sense of peace or joy,
You just
or
answered my question though, because that's what I feel. I feel that. I mean, like right now, this is.
But what did you discover? What did you discover about your true self, about your truth?
What did I discover about my truth? That I'm bigger than I thought I was. That I'm more
That you're not what? That you're not 5'6"? What does that mean? I'm big.
As in, there's more. Like I've always played small, and I couldn't get myself out of that smallness, out of that space. And it's like now I feel like it's like, that's why I said expansive. It's little
And
by
so
little.
when you feel limitless, what's available to you?
Everything.
What's in everything?
Everything is connection with people and love and you know, just being able to do what I want to do in a day and feeling.
So accomplish things, succeed at things, create new things.
I'm actually I've been doing this for a while, but I'm going to share this. It's like what it's doing for me now is pulling out I learned how to play piano when I was a child. And a couple of years ago, I was in a duo with someone, and he played the guitar. We both sang, we wrote the music, we recorded a bunch of music, but I was always afraid to do it by myself. Now I'm once again, probably for the third time, because I pushed it away and I was afraid of it. Now I am sitting down at the keyboard, learning and writing my own song. I don't know what it's going to turn out. I'm still learning how to do it, but I feel like there's that's the expansiveness. That it's like I'm able to express myself. I'm only doing the music right now. I haven't written anything, but it's putting all that together and not being afraid. It's not being afraid to do that. And your screen just blanked out again. And you're back.
Sorry.
That's okay. So that's what it does. It like pulls out like the creativity and the not being afraid to try it. Like I used to be so afraid when I first met my partner when we did the music. I wouldn't even look at the keyboard. I wouldn't even look at it because of all the trauma that I had around doing the piano and music and everything when I was little. And now I am working on writing my own song without anybody else. So for me, that's huge. That's what I say.
Okay, that was just one question.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So that's proof. It goes into this whole thing.
Yeah, and it could be scary to look at that sheet of questions and be confronted with one's true self, because I think that's what's really happening. I've actually had women say to me, I don't have self-love, I can't do this. And I say, as gently as I possibly can, what makes you think you don't have self-love? You know, again, I think they're looking for something on the outside. So to those women, I recommend that they use one of these, no, I don't want to call it a journal because it's not really a journal, but it's an activities book. And yes, I get a little bit of money from it. You know, I didn't take a vow to be a pauper here.
We can. You're going to give me I want you to give me the link to that book anyway. We can put it on the. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
And to do that work, and then let's revisit it with them. And if the book's done, the book's done. But if the book's not done, then why can't she and I just work on that, you know, together? You know, I'm happy to do that with somebody.
That's really powerful. I had this vision when you said that. It was like this woman or these women who feel that way. I don't know what self-love is. I am that woman. I didn't know because I didn't know what it looked like. I never saw it in my family because of generational trauma. I never saw it in my relationships. I may have seen it in certain friends of mine, but I didn't know what it looked like, so I couldn't recognize it. So sometimes it feels like, I mean, our souls know what it is. We just have to be reminded, I think, because
Sure.
we do know.
And that's what I said to you. That's what I said to you earlier about, I think that as children, we are definitely born with, well, we have a sense of self, and we have, you know, all the needs that we have. But until someone says anything different to us in our childhood, we love ourselves. We accept ourselves, foibles and all. And then suddenly someone says something, and it's generally around 7 years old. That's what psychologists say, is when things click for us and we're never the same again. You know, that whole 7 years, 7, 14, 21, 28, you know, but it's generally around 7 years old. And that's why a lot of healing work is based at, you know, when you do regression work and stuff like that, they want to take you back to 6 or 7 years old as well, too.
Well, that's, yeah. I mean, I do inner child work with people, and I just had my own inner child session done. And I've never, I mean, I've had pieces of it, but not to this extreme. And it's so freaking powerful to just, for me, it was like this vision. I could see myself at that age. And I went through it last week, and it was like, being able to go through the process and then take care of yourself. I got walked through to take care of myself, to love myself after I went through all the, you know, the shame and the anger and the fear and everything that I had gone through. Actually, I did a double. I did one from when I was born, and I did another one from when I was like 6 years old or 7, something like that. I can't remember. And it has stuck in my life since that time. So it was like this inner child work. I don't know. I can't say enough about it. It's just being able to connect with that child who didn't get what they needed.
It's extremely valuable for people who want to explore their truth. There's also, if you want to go even deeper, sorry.
Here we go. Something else I can do. Go ahead.
Doing past life regression work is, you know, people think they're born to Jane and Bob Smith, and they're not. They're born to Jane and Bob Smith, Jane and Bob Smith's dad and mom, Jane's mom and dad, Jane's mom and dad's mom and dad, and generationally, thousands and thousands of years back. Okay. So when you're born, you've got the DNA of all of those people that came before you, which that is of its own animal over here. And then we have the past lives that we've had as well, too. And while many people may think that that's all woo-wooey and there's no such thing, and that's fine, you can have that opinion, you know, kind of thing. But I'm gonna say that it affects us tremendously in our today lives, and I'll give you a good example of it with myself.
Let me say something real quick, because I don't know who's watching. I just want you to understand that, like, I personally believe in past lives, but not everybody does, and it's okay if you don't. But
that's right.
This is just understanding that Tammy has about it, and I understand. I'll probably understand what she's saying, but I'm just saying it's not a bad thing if you don't believe in it. But it's interesting to just kind of get another perspective on, you know, the way things are or could be out there or whatever. So yeah, just wanted to share that.
all I ask is that people just be open-minded.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get to, but yeah,
that's all, you know, and to each his own. And, you know, if it's not something that you believe in, nobody's going to judge you on it.
Yeah.
But I know of 3 previous lives that I had, but I'll just share one with you. It's pretty traumatic. So I don't know if you noticed, but I have nothing around my neck. No jewelry.
Choked or hung? I have that. Choked or hung? Go ahead.
No, not even that.
No. Okay.
So I lived in in a previous life, I lived in one of my most favorite places in the world. I lived in Paris, and I was married to a man who was very high up in the 1870s, 1780s, you know, the height of Napoleon, the Napoleonic Wars,
Wow.
Louis, all of that, the revolution and whatnot. And he was pretty high up, and he was in finance. And we were both beheaded.
Okay.
And yeah, he was found. He was found to be treasonous, and everybody was found to be treasonous back in those days, you know.
Right.
And because I was married to him, I was then found guilty just through association.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot wear anything around my neck, scarves, necklaces, nothing. I can't have shirts that go up there. I cannot breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot breathe. And then there's also another chapter of that as well too. But why I'm just bringing this up is not because I'm off with her head kind of thing, but because if you are an explorer,
Yeah.
and if you're an explorer, and if you're looking for your truth and your self-reality, there's so many different things that you can read and participate and study in and whatnot. And they may or may not have validity for you as to where you are today. But getting one's head chopped off in a previous life doesn't really set you up for a whole heck of a lot of self-love in this life. There was other lives after that one, and I'm sure before, but that's as far back as I went.
And keep in mind that nothing is linear in this situation. Everything goes in like as a circular plate because you don't always go. Yeah.
Correct. But you know, imagine, if you will. So I get my head chopped off because of the man I'm married to. Do I love him or not? I don't know that. We never went down that far in terms of the regression. But just knowing that my who I was as a person was determined by another person would explain a lot about why I fight the outward validation, the outward description, the outward labeling of myself and other women.
That's really interesting. And something just popped into my head that I just went into coaching mode for a minute there. But your neck is always on the line for other people. Like that's what it felt like to me. It was like, and I could be wrong, but it just popped into my head.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like it's your fault because of this. It's your fault. It's always your fault because of something that somebody else does. So your neck is always on the line for other people and their whatever. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, that could be it too. But to be, I think for me that what really truly resonates for me is to be lumped in with that other person, and whether or not he, you know, wasn't doing the finances right or not, I was complicit. I was found guilty. I was judged, by his actions, inactions, or something like that.
So in this life, do you take responsibility for other people, or have you?
In this life,
have you taken the blame?
Have I taken the fall? Have I taken the fall for someone?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No? Well, okay, because that's what I was trying to figure out how it fit in, because usually it kind of blends in. Oh, maybe you learned it. You could have learned it. Then you probably learned whatever that was.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Nuh-uh. I will never fall on the knife for somebody else.
Then you probably learned that lesson.
Oh yeah, you have to chop my head off twice.
God, right? That's a good thing. Yay. Okay, I was just curious.
I think for me, I think that explains a lot with the total bombardment from advertising, marketers, society, parents. You will be this way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
I just really hope that Love and Kale helps to free women up.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to feel that way, whatever their way is, you know?
Yeah. Just to really own their own truth.
Yeah. Yep. Did you want to ask me one more question, or because this?
No, I think that one question kind of sort of spawned an answer for many questions.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I figured. So we'll probably be here for 6 more hours if we do that. We've been known. So I guess I mean, do you have anything else you want to share that we haven't talked about?
No, I think we covered it all. I hope to have the first draft of the book done by the end of summer and start getting it out there, getting it published. I mean, I do show it on my website as coming soon, and that's just because I'm putting it out there to the universe.
Beautiful.
Can't take pre-orders yet. You can't take pre-orders until you actually have a manuscript. But like I said, if there's any women that are in your sphere of influence that would love to be involved in this, I would welcome them to reach out to me and tell their story, share their story, share their journey.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll put a link when I post the video. I'll put a link in there, or I'll make a comment or something to either. No, I'll put a link. I'll just put the link in there to get in touch with you. So give me whatever link there is, or email or whatever, that they can get in touch with you. Sure. And then I'll put that in the YouTube, and probably when I post it, to say whatever's going, to say what's coming, you know, for you.
Okay.
So really the only other thing is, well, this is perfect for this. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can go to the website for the book, which is www.
We don't say that anymore, by the way. Love and Kale.
Love it. It's just Love and Kale, A&D, loveandkale.com.
Yes.
And they can reach out to me there. Okay,
perfect. Perfect. All right, Missy. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So everyone, thank you for being here and sharing in this really fun moment with Tammy Romer and I, and looking forward to hopefully hearing from some of you ladies, women, young ladies, whoever wants to get in touch with Tammy and ask these questions and see where it goes, and help her out in getting this out there for other women. And I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are. And that's it. Bye.